Yes, here we go on a very comfortable night in Landover, Maryland. This is the third day of autumn. Temperature in the 60s. Field conditions are just fine after some showery weather for the past 24 hours, but ideal setting tonight to get it started for the 155th edition of the Redskins and the Giants. And the Giants Sunday with a win over Houston after an 0-2 start, able to get rid of all that talk about them repeating that horrendous start of a year ago when they lost their first 6.
One win changes a lot of things, and it gave the Giants the confidence that they were looking for, that their offense can work and be precise and score points. And their defense, it's pretty good. So they're a confident team coming into this game.
Here's the kickoff. The Redskins gave up a 102-yard return last week for a touchdown, and that's going to be a touchback just inside the pylon. And bring it out to the 20 for Eli Manning and the Giants. He's got a superb career record against the Redskins, 13-6. If he wins tonight, he would match your record, Phil, against Washington, 14-6, which is the best record any quarterback, any Washington opposing quarterbacks ever had against them in the franchise history. He's going to come out now with multiple receivers and a shotgun set. Jennings, the running back, coming off a huge game on Sunday. They fake to him, gets rid of it quickly, has the connection to Randall, and a flag is down on the very first snap as Randall was near the 10-yard gain.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 97 defense, for contact to the helmet of the quarterback. 15 yards will be added to the end of the play, automatic. First down.
You were just talking about Jason Hatcher, and here he goes with a 15-yard penalty.
Question mark if he would be in the starting lineup tonight. We watched him work out before the game. He worked out well, and he just grazes the face mask of Eli Manning. Tough call against Jason Hatcher.
10 on the play, 15 on the penalty. Ball at the 45. And delay give to Jennings, who pushes a defender out of the way and collects 4. Jennings, through 3 weeks, is the third-ranked rusher in the National Football League behind DeMarco Murray and Le'Veon Bell. Comes off his biggest career game, 176 yards, and they handed it to him 34 times Sunday against the Texans. 2nd and 6. As Jennings again decides to break outside, and he meets Merriweather after a gain of 1, maybe 2.
Well, when you talk about this Giant offense, the West Coast offense, which we've heard so much about, with Eli Manning, it's a controlled passing attack. He wants to get rid of the football quickly, try to get completions and hit these guys in stride like he did the opening play so they can run with the football after the catch.
From the 50, a 3rd and 5. And across the middle, it's dropped by Cruz. Dropped an easy one that may have been just slightly behind him, but definitely should have been caught.
It's a little shake route in the middle. Victor Cruz gets exactly what he wants. He's going to come inside, fake it, and go back out. It's the perfect defense for this play for the Giants. The fake, and then he takes off and just tries to run with it before he catches. He's done that a couple times already this year.
Yep, would have easily had the first down. And probably another 5 or 6. Weatherford with the punt. That hits near the 5 and just deadens right there. Smothered up by the Giants. 44-yard boot. We do have a flag down back at the line of scrimmage.
Illegal use of hands. Hands to the face. Number 94 of the receiving team. That penalty will be enforced half the distance to the goal. First down. Timeout.
So Cousins and Washington will start inside the 5 with their first series in a moment. You're looking at Kirk Cousins, 3rd year out of Michigan State. His 427 yards against Philly last week, joining Matt Ryan, the only 2 400-yard performances early in the season.
Look at this Washington offense, the big deal for them tonight. The offensive line don't get overpowered by a big athletic defensive front. that the Giants have.
And they start from the 2. They fake to Morris and down the middle with the catch and a gain of 13. It's Niles Paul, formerly a wide receiver. Now they kind of use him as a tight end. He's got 13.
He is a hybrid kind of player, and what confidence Jay Gruden has in his quarterback, backed up, play action pass, and throwing over the middle. A lot of things can go wrong, but a nice throw by Kirk Cousins.
First down from the 15. Here's Morris. He gets quite a workload virtually every game, and that's a 4-yard pickup. Alfred Morris, since he came into the league in 2012 as a 6th-round pick out of Florida Atlantic, he's got the 2nd most rush yards in the league since 2012, behind Adrian Peterson.
6th-round pick, played on a 1-11 football team, wasn't sure he was going to get drafted, and always worried about getting cut, but very productive from the start.
It's Cousins keeping it for the first down and sliding out across the 30, and a gain of 12 for the first down.
I'm sure when they did the scouting report, they talked, don't worry, Kiwanuka comes down inside, and nobody is outside for the quarterback. So that'll slow that defensive end on the outside down. The threat of Kirk Cousins keeping the football. Nice job of really keeping the football in there for a long time, and you don't have to be a 4-4 runner at the quarterback position to gain valuable yards running.
On first down, little short pass, and it's caught by Morris. His first catch of the season goes for 1. And before that snap, Cousins had to race to the sideline. Something wrong with his headset, so he went over to the sideline to make sure he could get his signal straight.
As you talk about him, he's off to a good start. Just remember, Kirk Cousins now gets a chance to practice every week, Jim. During training camp, they spend most of their time, the coaches for Washington, getting Robert Griffin III ready, so he took very few snaps. But the last couple weeks, the snaps, his comfort level already shows.
2nd and 9. Still looking for options. He goes down the field and over the head of Paul, who had a step on Jaquan Williams.
Well, Niles Paul, they have this play. They got what they want. What protection. And watch as he comes out down the sideline. Kirk Cousins looks to his right to make sure it's not open as he goes back. Watch Paul slows down. That little hesitation kept him from having a big play down the sideline. I'm sure, Jim, he thought the football was not coming his way. Never give up as a receiver. Always think the football is coming to you.
Could have gone for 6. 3rd and 9. They bring Hilou in. Here comes the pressure, and the ball's out and recovered by the Giants. Strip sack. Colin Jenkins falls on it. Knocked loose by Kiwanuka.
It was slow developing on the outside. Matthias Kiwanuka keeps hustling around the edge. He beats Kyler Columbus. The coverage down the field was good enough to make him hesitate. And that's one of the big concerns in my eyes. A lot of guys are going to go to the right side against Tyler Columbus tonight. The Giants have about 6 different pass rushers. They move around and look for matchups that fit the guys. So good job by Kiwanuka.
Yep, never saw him coming. Cousins coughs it up. Giants at the 24. Jennings takes a second Washington defender to bring him down. Give him 4. Emerson on the tackle.
Well, Washington wanted, and Jay Gruden said, I want my quarterback to be more patient, but that's a good thought. But when you're going against a team that can power and have speed rushing the quarterback, you got to be careful.
2nd and 6. Randall trying to somehow slip out of the tackle of Emerson, but he holds on, keeps him to a 4-yard gain. Most giveaways since the start of last season. Giants most in the league. Washington 3rd. Giants first fumble recovery of the season.
If you play off on the Giant receivers, Eli Manning will throw it short and just say, go ahead and try to tackle our big outside guys.
Corey Washington, the rookie on the near side, the fourth receiver on 3rd and 2. Giants have the first down at the 11. Donnell, the tight end, who's certainly been off to a terrific start.
Well, that's pretty easy stuff that time. Riley against the net. Look at all the room and area. That's, I think, one thing. They play a lot of man coverage. The Washington team does. And when you play so much man coverage, you got to be careful. And that time, Riley, careful, gives up an easy completion.
Donnell, their leading receiver so far early in the season. That's his 19th catch. Here's Jennings bursting up the middle down to the 5. And a pickup of 6 by Rashad Jennings.
What a difference in the Giant offense, Jim, as you watch it. They struggled so much. Then last 8 drives, 2 touchdowns. But last week it kind of came together. So here tonight, they didn't defer. They took the football knowing and thinking, hey, we can move it. Not worried about the crowd noise. So far, so good.
Giants have not produced a first quarter touchdown in their last 8 games. Trying to break that now on 2nd and 4. And well done by Ryan Kerrigan with the quick wrap-up of Jennings for no gain.
Well, as defense for Washington, we talked about it in the opening, 3rd in the NFL against the run. And one of the reasons why they're good against the run, because they put a lot of guys up there to stop it. They put a lot of pressure on their corners and their slot defenders to play one-on-one.
3rd and 4. Giants can pick up the first at the 1. And Eli throws to the end zone, and it is caught for the touchdown. Larry Donnell with the catch and his 2nd touchdown of the season.
Yeah, he's such a big guy. He can catch the football. He's athletic, and the Giants so far are very excited. Watch him go right up the seam. The defender never turns quick enough. And Riley, hey, look, the first time that he broke outside, this time he goes up the seam. Riley not ready for it, and Eli Manning, good throw behind the receiver. Easy touchdown.
Josh Brown for the extra point. And the Giants get 7 points off the takeaway. Now that defensive line, always such a big part of the personality of this team. Forced the fumble, and Eli got the touchdown toss. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side. The Lexus GX, dare to be spontaneous. And by Voya Financial, changing the way you think of retirement. Quick 7 for the Giants. Donnell on the receiving end of it. And the 2nd-year man out of Grambling is becoming a big part of this Ben McAdoo offense.
Well, Jim, you saw why he plays on 3rd downs. And they'll go to 4 wide receivers, and they'll take him out. If you leave a linebacker in there to guard him the rest of the night, Eli Manning's going to have a hard time looking at any wide receivers, and he can just take these one-on-ones inside.
Brown on the kick to Andre Roberts. The former Cardinals going to bring it out. Oh, what a hit. It was Hillis who hammered him at the 14. Roberts comes up shoving. But the Redskins with their 2nd possession coming up. Washington both drives starting inside its own 20. As Garcon shifts over to the right side. They run it to the short side, that is, to Morris. And a 3-yard pickup. Tonight, CBS Sports, in partnership with the NFL, introduces you to next-generation statistic groundbreaking technology that brings you to the screen never-before-seen player-specific metrics direct from tracking devices worn by every player tonight.
I'm glad they didn't have this when I played. I would not want to know how fast I was running or how, what's the word for it? Or how slow I was running.
Yeah.
Yes, we didn't agree.
What's up?
2nd and 7 as Morris runs basically the same play, this time for 2. As Morris will come out here. Lou comes in for 3rd down. And look at the top rushers entering week 4. You got Murray of the Cowboys, and you got 3 out of the division, the top 4. And the only one not represented there is last year's rushing champion, LaShawn McCoy of the Eagles. That's 1 through 4 in the league. Morris is number 4. Here's a 3rd and 5, Washington. And that one sails past Andre Roberts, who turned around begging for a flag. He's not going to get it.
Well, they want him to be patient, and after that sack and fumble, that'll speed a quarterback up. But that time, I think he missed the open receiver, was the first guy going across. Sometimes as a quarterback, you expect the primary to be covered. You go to the next guy, and he is not open.
Tress Way is the Washington punter. Preston Parker, the return man. He's got a chance to run this one out to the 40 and through traffic. He wiggles his way free and is tackled by the punter. He grabbed hold of him way on the tackle after a 30-yard return, following a 55-yard punt, but a flag.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 34 of the return team. 10-yard penalty, 1st down, timeout.
Carl Cheppers and crew will back up the Giants, who lead at 7-0. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And by Outback Steakhouse. Outback, no rules, just right. The Lincoln Memorial. As we return here to Landover, and the Giants leading at 7-0, their 3rd series. And a quick pass to Preston Parker.
Well, matchup so far for the Giants. They got to like what they see. The big tight end, Donnell, against the linebacker. Look at the space. It's a problem for this Washington defense. And then, of course, he can go inside, outside, down the field. Going to have to play these tight ends and these slot receivers a little different.
A 2nd and 3. They've got Andre Williams now in the backfield, the rookie 4th rounder out of Boston College. And the rookie gets the handle, cradles it with 2 hands. Had the 1st down, but a flag is down.
Holding, number 77 offense. 10-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Called on John Jerry. Get instant news and scores for New York, Washington, or your favorite team all on your phone. Download the CBS Sports app and never miss a moment of the action.
Well, if you're a Giant fan, you had to think, is this offense ever going to get its rhythm and to make it work? The preseason was awful. Opening week down in Detroit doesn't look as bad now since Green Bay went down there and really struggled. But last week, Ben McAdoo, it just came together, the rhythm. Eli Manning looked so much more at ease and threw the football last week very accurately.
2nd and 13 to draw to Williams. And he sidesteps across the 20 for a gain of 4. Well, you can see just how things started to go. Just last Sunday, week 3. He was 21 of 28. He was sacked early in the game on the first series by J.J. Watt, and they never got to him again.
Well, when you talk about this, they said we want to complete 70% of our passes, and I kind of laughed when I read that. But when you watch this offense and the way it's designed and the way it played last week, that number is definitely not out of question.
Well, they get rid of the football so quickly.
That's right.
3rd and 9. Here's the toss. Jennings into a wall at the 26. And the Redskins defense will take the Giants off the field.
Well, they're thinking, hey, they might play soft. We can run the football, catch them off guard. But also you're thinking 3rd and long, respect the pass rushers. that this Washington defense has, and they played a little safe. The safeties for Washington are flying up. Sooner or later, they're going to have to do a sellout play action and try to throw it deep.
You know, that penalty on the punt return cost the Giants 35. And then a 3 and out. I will tell you, too, that the punt coverage units on both sides have been awful to start the season. As Roberts, he could have run with that one. I don't know why he made the fair catch. 46-yard punt for Cousins. 2 for 4 early in this game with a lost fumble. Down 7. Washington, where RG3's out for a while with an ankle, and Cousins, the understudy, should take note of some of these notable understudies over the past several decades. Young behind Montana, what he did after Montana. And of course, Favre coming in for Don Bukowski, Warner for Trent Green, Brady for Bledsoe, and then Ben Roethlisberger taking over for Tommy Maddox. All 5 of them went on to win at least 1 Super Bowl. And here is Cousins in the pocket. And nice catch by Garcon. But the flag is down in the area where the ball was thrown, where the quarterback may have been hit.
Holding.
Nope.
Number 71 offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
So we'll take that big gain away, that gain of 16. But about Cousins, this week he was asked about, does he consider himself now to be the man here in Washington? And he made it very clear. He said this is still Robert's team.
And don't be surprised. That's the answer he should give. That's what you have to say. And until he demonstrates that he can consistently come out here and get it done, then that's what you have to say. So Kirk Cousins, he knows the situation. Play well, win games, you can keep the job.
1st and 20 and a drop by Jackson. In fact, Cousins says he would like to be able to give the team over, hand it off back to RG3 with a very good record. That's, he says, my goal. Give it back to him with his team in good shape.
And Jim, that's the political answer. That's the way you're supposed to handle it. But when the time comes and Robert Griffin III is healthy and this team has a really good record, they will not switch quarterbacks. We all know that.
He still seems to be having issues with his headset. 2nd and 20. They go screen to Hillou. Hillou out to the 25. Picked up 7.
Well, Washington's going to have to pick their spots. We can already see that. Holding penalty, a sack, and a fumble. This giant defensive front, they are loaded again. Jason Pierre-Paul is healthy and has played well the first 3 games. I said it, they have depth, so they can continuously just bring in fresh guys who can push the pocket or use their speed to get around the pass blocker.
3rd and 13, they're blitzing. Cousins in trouble. Throws it in the area of Garcon, and we've got another flag.
Holding. Number 74 offense. That penalty's declined. 4th down.
Tyler Columbus, the right tackle's off to a pretty rough start in this game.
On the outside, 74. Demontre Moore, well, there's not much Tyler Columbus can do that. When the quarterback retreats, he doesn't know that, so that's not his fault. The pressure inside is what drove Cousins back.
Way to Parker. He fields it. And then takes a few licks. Akeem Davis, the first to get there after the 56-yard punt. Start your week off with a bang, a big bang. Catch Emmy winner Jim Parsons and the rest of the gang on TV's #1 comedy. It's a new Big Bang Theory on its new night, and that's Monday at 8, 7 Central, only CBS.
I know when Washington gets the football back, their plan of attack is going to have to change. You can see they need to run the football to take the pressure off these offensive linemen blocking the Giant D linemen.
Cruz across the 50, and Victor Cruz to the Washington 39. Gain of 36.
Well, Cruz is in the slot. He's just going to go up here. And this was a troubling play last week. Oh, they think it's going to be a blitz. And they catch him. Victor Cruz wide open. E.J. Biggers confused at what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, he got turned around right on the snap, didn't he? As Jennings has a nice gain on first down.
Well, look how fast. Next generation stats. Victor Cruz. I think we know he's fast and he's quick. And that showed it.
And again, that pass play picked up 36 to move him into Redskins territory.
Well, Jim, that style of play is what cost Washington the game last week against Philadelphia.
On 2nd and 5, Jennings, first down, near the 20, going behind Will Beatty.
Well, Will Beatty and Weston Richburg, the left guard, last week they're run blocking a double team inside. That's what does it. J.D. Walton, the center, and Richburg just moved the defensive lineman out of the way. The cutback, they look like some of the running lanes we saw for the Giants last week against the Texans.
Yeah, Jennings picking up where he left off against the Texans with the most rushing yards by a Giant through 3 weeks since Tiki back in 03. And a new set of downs at the 22. They fake to Jennings, open man, and Donnell has him inside the 10. And a 1st and goal to go.
Every time Eli has the ball, the good play action fake, but it's, boy, it just fools everybody on the defensive side. Robinson in the backfield, nobody covering Donnell.
7-0 after 1. Giants, you're watching Thursday Night Football. Nance along with Bill Sims, Tracy Wolfson, Mike Carey, our rules aficionado. We start the second quarter. The Giants, first time they put up points in the first quarter this year, and they're threatening as we start the second. 1st and goal from the Washington 8. Jennings allows ahead for 3.
Ryan Clark, the safety, up there again to make the tackle. These safeties, I said it earlier, they're flying up there to help this defensive line out. Now, you know, I know they're beat up. Jason Hatcher was a game-time decision. Brian Orekpo, he's out there with a cast on his left hand. Hard to play with one hand on the defensive side.
They go spread. They're going to bring Jennings back to flank the quarterback. Eli has hit his last 6 passes, one of them going for a touchdown. 2nd and goal. To the end zone again, and he's got another hookup with Larry Donnell for the touchdown.
Well, nobody in the middle. Outside technique by the safety. Merriweather. Eli Manning looks to his right, and I don't know if that fooled the defense, but nobody was in the middle to stop the pass.
Looks like it should have been Merriweather.
Yep, somebody should be in the middle. Merriweather has the outside. He's doing the right thing. But Manning, which I've noticed a lot, their rhythm passing. He knows the defense before the snap. They're getting into the right plays, and he looks right. And that opens up a big hole to the left side for him to throw it to Donnell again.
Larry Donnell coming out of Grambling State a couple of years ago. No one showed any interest in him except the Giants. They signed him, put him on the practice squad. He was happy to come from Grambling to New York. He said they used to call themselves at Grambling the G-Men, and he joins the G-Men in New York, and boy, is he becoming a very big presence at tight end for Eli Manning.
Yeah, I was told, hey, maybe they should go 4 wide receivers to get great matchups. I like this matchup with the tight end. It's working out pretty well.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 94 of the defense for jumping up on an opponent and trying to block the kick. That 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff. Timeout.
First time since 2009, and Kevin Voss, at a Giant tight end, has 2 touchdown catches in a game. Here comes the pressure, and the ball recovered by the Giants. And Eli throws to the end zone for the touchdown. In fact, Eli now has thrown it twice to the end zone to the same player, Larry Donnell, for touchdowns. And we're just not even a minute into the second quarter. 14-0 Giants.
Why look anywhere else? When you get this, Jim, you and I always say, why don't you kick it high and near the goal line so you can tackle them inside the 10?
Yep, 15 yards after the unsportsmanlike flag.
Boy, great job not bringing it out. Jim, let's look at the touchdown throw. Why was the tight end Donnell so wide open? Here's Ryan Clark. He is doubling Victor Cruz. So here's Merriweather on the outside, which is the wrong technique to play. You got to be heads up if you got him man-to-man. And look at the inside, nobody there. That's why the touchdown looks so easy. Confusion on the defensive side. Washington did it last week. They've made mistakes. Jim Haslett, the defensive coordinator, even said, we're young, we're aggressive, and we've made mistakes.
Roll out and connection with Young. He's got 9.
I don't know what we're doing, man. I'm sorry, y'all. Come on, man. What we doing out there, man?
Ryan Orakpo is Mike tonight, and frustrated as he headed to the bench. And we've got a giant shaken up. Rogers Cromartie, who was with the Broncos, AFC champions a year ago. And he'll hobble over to the far sideline. This Monday on CBS, NCIS Los Angeles moves to its new night and time. Don't miss Chris O'Donnell and LL Cool J in the season premiere Monday night at 10, 9 Central, only CBS.
That was a good play call, that first play by Washington. And why? Because when you're not happy with the way you're being handled up front, give them some diversion, something that's offbeat, a play action pass or a boot pass. That was excellent.
You saw McBride comes in for Rogers Cromartie, and that's going to be enough for the first as Morris is able to get it just past the 30. Ayers is wondering, did anybody notice I have the football?
Forward progress was ruled on the field, so it doesn't matter. Robert Ayers, how about this addition?
Yeah.
Comes from the Denver Broncos, has really played well. Outside pass rusher, can do just about everything. And like I said, they keep rotating all those defensive linemen through.
He's a former first-round pick, and like Rogers Cromartie was with the Denver defense last season. First down for Cousins. Put some heat on that one, and Jackson. They give him the catch. The Giants on the sideline didn't believe it, and they're discussing it. It's 17 if it holds up. They were working on McBride, who would come in for Rogers Cromartie.
Well, Tom Coughlin, I think, is going to challenge this.
The ruling on the field is the pass is incomplete. Second down.
They came in and got some help. The officials talked, and that left foot does not look like it gets down. It didn't look like it got down live, Jim.
The question is there contact with the ground at that point?
And if Washington challenged it, I would not like their chances. He's going to do it.
And now Gruden's going to challenge it after the officials had changed their call on the field. Gruden has information from up top that it's worthy of a challenge.
The Redskins are challenging the ruling of the field of an incomplete pass. We'll review the play.
NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Mazda. Mazda is KBB.com's lowest cost to own brand over 5 years. McDonald's, official sponsor of the NFL. I'm loving it. And by Verizon, more live games than ever before with NFL Mobile. It didn't take long for Carl Cheffers to review this one.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. The receiver did not control the ball throughout the process of the catch. Washington will be charged with their first timeout.
Well, when you looked at this one, you thought, well, maybe he does have the foot down. See the left foot?
And then the hand comes off. By the time he re-grips the football, he is out of bounds. So that's what Carl Cheffer saw, and he made a quick decision.
Redskins still without a catch by a wideout. 2nd and 10. Morris has a good run going to the 49. 19 on that carry by Alfred Morris.
Yeah, so good and so patient. That's all he ever talks about. Don't be too fast as a running back. Let the blocks up front take their way. And that time Lichtensteiger, the center, he's the guy that made it go. And Morris cut behind him.
Morris, who models himself, he says, after the old school guys. And he gets another carry. He's not afraid of contact. Well, Alfred Morris down at Florida Atlantic did not play for a team that put up very many wins. And that cost him come draft day, 6th round, coming out of the same draft as Cousins and Griffin.
1-11, that's one of the reasons why he went late. How about Jim when we talked about his training? He goes, you know, I train just like I did in college. I'm not doing this pampered NFL training.
Yeah.
I'm training like I did, and good job by him. It shows.
He trains with college guys. That throw is to Morris for only 1. This Monday, don't miss the new show critics are calling fast, funny, and above all, exciting. Catch the new hit drama Scorpion Monday at 9, 8 Central after The Big Bang Theory, only CBS. So now the Redskins will get to run a play for the 2nd time. That last snap, just the 1-yard throw, was ruled to be from the Giants side of the field. Just their 2nd snap in the opponent's territory, and it's a completion to a wideout now for the first time in the books to Deshaun Jackson.
Really good job that time. Kirk Cousins feels the pressure, and you play quarterback. Stay, look down the field, steps up beautifully. Deshaun Jackson, always a threat coming across the field. Now, Jim, Rogers Cromartie is out of the game. You have tremendous wide receivers. Zach Bowman now to the offense's right. You think they take a chance?
Rolling out and finding Paul for a first down near the 20. Niles Paul comes up gimpy.
Giants over pursuing. Niles Paul runs like a wide receiver. So a lot of times these kind of type of passes in the league go for 4 and 5 yards. He turns the corner and almost, that's a big hit by Zach Bowman. Now when Jordan Reed comes back, your starting tight end, you put those 2 in there, that's a lot to deal with. And Niles Paul is limping. That shot to the thigh.
It took place out of bounds. The ball is on the field. Timeout called by Washington. Threatening for the first time tonight. Coming out of the Redskins' 2nd timeout. They picked up more yardage on this drive than they did for the first 3 drives combined. 59 picked up on this series. And a new set of downs at the 21 with pressure open. They've got Paulson. And Paulson is able to advance it to the Giants' 7.
When you have nobody in the backfield, here comes the blitz. Nobody back there to help Kirk Cousins. So at the last second, he realized it, but also nobody there to cover the tight end. I think the Giants thought that he would stay in and block. He got a free release. Good job by Cousins finding him.
1st and goal. Giants 8. Morris finds the crease and is ridden down by Herzlich, but a flag down at the 10.
Holding, number 82 offense. 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Well, that's what the third holding call against the Redskins offense. Called on Logan Paulson, who took it down to the 8.
He's on the outside. Oh, when he gets thrown off, when the play really doesn't matter, Williams is not going to make the tackle, but holding calls usually come for one reason. You're not controlling the defensive player.
They've had more 10-plus play drives than any team in the league through 3 weeks. Putting together one here. First and goal, though, at the 18. Fake to Morris. To the end zone. And the Redskins are on the board with a touchdown by Andre Roberts.
Really good job by Kirk Cousins being patient. I thought he was going to throw the inside receiver, as you see it, but he waits. And then Roberts goes down the seam. Oh, he could have pulled the trigger. He doesn't. He sees the gaping hole between the safety and the corner. Nice patience. That's what Jay Gruden talked about. The patience gave him a touchdown. Good job.
Boy, Roberts was someone they really sought once free agency started. Back in March, they signed him day one, the former member of the Arizona Cardinals, with his first touchdown as a Redskin. Cousins throws for 67 yards on that drive, plus the touchdown pass. Tonight, catch an advanced premiere of Finding Giants, a never-before-seen look inside the life of an NFL scout as they search for future NFL stars. Tonight, immediately after the postgame show, only on NFL Network. Kirk Cousins put it together on that drive, didn't he? He had 6 different receivers, 6 completions, 6 different targets. Roberts, the last one, for the touchdown. The punter, Way, also handles the kickoff chores tonight, and in a full sprint, it's Parker trying to stay balanced out to the 33. Let's go down to Tracy.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Cornerback Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, he was not out there for most of that last touchdown drive. He is sidelined right now with a thigh injury. His return is questionable. Jim?
Yeah, he was hurt right at the start of that drive, and then the Redskins, right off of that, were able to finally find some things in sync for their offense. Here's how he got hurt.
Couldn't see where it happened. Pulls the receiver down on him. But what this did, that drive by Washington allowed the defense to get some rest and maybe change their plan.
Manning had some pressure, and Eli dumps it off. What gets the completion, but a 2-yard loss to Jennings.
I know Washington's defense has not played well so far, but the one thing you've got to say, Jim, from standing up here, they hustle. And that's great, but it's also a detriment too, because they overrun plays, they make mistakes because they chase the first thing they see sometimes. But Jim Haslett thinks he has the makings of a really good defense down here in Washington.
Well, they had 10 sacks 11 days ago against Jacksonville. Oddly enough, no sacks in the first and third games of the year, but 10 in that one game, second and 13. Donnell, good piece of tackling by the former Steeler Ryan Clark, holds him to 4.
Excellent tackle by Clark. They were full. They could not get lined up. They had a different look that time on the defensive side, trying to confuse the Giants, and they confused themselves.
Eli's hit his last 9. 2 of them for touchdowns. The 36-yarder to Cruz on a touchdown drive. 3rd and 9. And gotta think the forward progress. No, let's see. It first looked like they're going to spot it a yard back of this, but Parker is going to have easily enough for the first.
Stacking the receivers. Good job by the Giants. And by stacking them, what happens is the defense, they move back. And when you move back, that allowed Parker to be open going across the middle.
A lot of folks here did not like the spot, the forward progress. First and 10. Andre Williams for 1. Coming up on the Lexus halftime report, James Brown, Deion Sanders, and Coach Bill Cowher will break down all the first half action.
Trent Murphy made that last tackle. He comes in as an outside linebacker, 34.5 sacks in his college career at Stanford, and he is an excellent player, no doubt, and a great substitute for this defense.
2nd and 9. Eli lofts it right into the arms of Randall. Perfect pass, and Ruben Randall has the big gain for the Giants of 27.
Beautiful throw by Eli Manning, bottom of your screen. Here they go. And Emerson never finds the football, a little too late. And Ruben Randall, this new offense just drops it right in there. That's what you want to do. This new offense simplified for him, and he's playing better.
11 straight completions. Eli tonight, 12 out of 13. With a first down at the Washington 28. Williams can't grab hold of it, the rookie.
What a difference watching the Giants offense compared to last year, what they do now. Last year, Eli Manning held the ball. Now look, that offense won them 2 Super Bowls, but it put a lot of pressure on the receivers to read routes. It put pressure on the offensive linemen. Look how fast he gets rid of the football. You're not open, he'll throw it short in a heartbeat.
2nd and 10. Coming to Cruz. He had a blocker over there, Parker. And Clark closes in on him and exchanges a few words and wants to make sure he gets the last word. Victor Cruz's numbers since 2011, Phil, have dropped. But you think they might be on the rise here soon?
Oh, I have no doubt. First off, the bad offensive line. Everything went wrong. Your numbers are going to drop. But also, Victor Cruz needs a receiver beside him. He had Akeem Nicks, he had Manningham, and I think once Odell Beckham gets into this lineup, it's going to just make it easier for Victor Cruz.
The rookie first-rounder Beckham out again tonight with a hamstring. They think he might be back for their next game 10 days out against Atlanta, as Eli has another completion. This one to Daniel Fells. So his 2 incompletions tonight have both been drops. Cruz at the start of the game, and then Williams a moment ago, and now they've got another first down on this hookup.
Look, it's blocking all the way. This is a downfield screen. That's all it is. Really well executed. And I don't know if Eli Manning called that play or Ben McAdoo, but it was the perfect call for the situation and the defense. It's amazing that this is the same offense that I watched all preseason and then opening game against the Detroit Lions.
Timeout. Timeout to beat the play clock. That's the first one used by the Giants. The Giants have a first down coming up at the Redskins 16. Red zone tonight. 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns, and now they're in the red zone for the 3rd time. Here's the give to Williams. Off the left side for about 3.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Jim. Tom Coughlin, we even said that the offense, the preseason, it was a disaster. And he just looked at us, he goes, I don't know what it is, but we're just awful in the preseason. So maybe it was showing in practice. It never showed in those preseason games. We saw signs of it against the Arizona Cardinals. It continued last week, and they are rolling again tonight.
2nd and 7. Taking to the line, down the middle. Spinning around, fighting for the first is Randall. Going to be close.
If you're going to play a defense like that, you have to make the tackle. When you miss the tackle,
as Jarvis Jenkins is down on one knee.
all right.
And as they bring out the training staff, we'll step aside. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Just for Men, Just You, and the look you want. And by AARP, Real Possibilities. We're 11 miles east of the Capitol. And FedEx Field, of course, midterm elections coming up on November the 4th. All 435 seats in the House and 33 of the 100 seats in the Senate will be contested. Meanwhile, in this contest, 14-7 Giants, 3rd and 1. And what an effort by Jennings.
Tight formation, very tight splits by the offensive line, and Eli Manning ran to the line of scrimmage. What's that tell you? It's going to be a quick snap count. Hard to get to Eli Manning too, getting rid of the football, Jim, so fast. Unless you come completely free as a defensive lineman, I don't see how you're going to get there and sack him.
Well, they've got a 1st and goal at the 6. He's hit Donnell twice down in this range, and now he lost this one to him again for another touchdown. Number 3.
No hesitation. Spread it out before the football is snapped. Eli Manning going to, oh, nice little move inside. That's what did it. And Breland trying to read the quarterback. Just that little hesitation and a perfect throw by Eli Manning.
And using that 6'6" size of Larry Donnell.
You know what you do? Always, you win at the line of scrimmage. Just that little quick move by Donnell gave him space. Manning throws it up.
I mentioned Eli's had a good record, moving in on your record, best ever, most wins by any opposing quarterback, 13-6, but he had, in his 19 games against Washington, only one game when he threw for more than one touchdown. He's got 3 tonight in the first half, and they've all gone to Larry Donnell. The Giants 21-7 over the Redskins, just outside of 2 minutes.
Well,
3 touchdowns by Larry Donnell, the last Giant tight end to do that. This might surprise some folks. Joe Walton.
Wow.
Back in 1962. Yes, that Joe Walton.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Yes.
I was wondering that right away.
How come you never gave Bavaro 3? I would have thought Bavaro. Oh, okay.
There you go.
That didn't take you long.
There you go.
Saturday, it's the best game from the best conference when the Razorbacks rumble with the Aggies on the Home Depot SEC on CBS. It all begins with college football today. That game's going to take place down in Dallas, down at AT&T Stadium. That'll be some scene down in Arlington, actually, to be exact, for Vern Lundquist. And
Jim, there's some strategy here in this game. You know, here in the first half, Giants still have 3 timeouts. Washington has 1. You have to be careful not to get the football right back to him.
Down. Nifty move by Garcon. They've got a gain of 11. That's his first catch. And they're going to get to that 2-minute warning after that 11-yard gain. Now, if the Redskins play this right, they could get the next 2 possessions, take it right to the end with possible points here before the half, and of course they will get the second half kickoff. You saw Rogers Cromartie's back out in that secondary. That pass wide of the mark for Roberts.
Giants that time came with a little blitz, and Kirk Cousins felt it, and that's why the throw is off target. Jameel McClain tries to pick the offensive tackle to allow the defensive end to come free. As a quarterback, you kind of see that out of the corner of your eye, and you know, hey, that process has to speed up just a little bit.
On 2nd and 10. Up over the top. The ball is out as Paul is taking a vicious hit, and he's out.
The ruling on the field is the pass is incomplete. Personal foul, number 35 defense for an illegal hit on a defenseless player. 15-yard penalty, automatic.
Quentin Dimps called for the hit to the head and Paul. You know, it reminds me, we were in Philadelphia one time. Austin Collie took a hit across the middle, had his hands kind of up in the air like that for the longest time.
Well,
and
when those hands go up, that's a sign that you could be knocked out. There's no doubt about the call. I'll tell you, the big question is, it's inside of 2 minutes. Will that be ruled a completion? Because he caught the ball, had possession of it, and took 2 steps.
we'll be back to Washington in a moment. Niles Paul is set up a little bit. And Mike Harry's back in the studio, our rules expert. Mike, what did you see here?
Well, we have 2 elements that we really have to look at. So first focus on the football. He has control, 2 feet down, tucks it away, and tries to protect himself. And then gets hit helmet to helmet by Will Dents, number 35. And as soon as he hits the ground, the ball comes out, so he will be down by contact.
So we're inside 2 minutes, so it's going to be reviewed. It's going to be reviewed up top, and we'll step aside. We're back as Niles Paul is slowly heading to the locker room as we bring back Mike Carey. And Mike, how do you see this one?
Well, there are 2 things to look at here, Jim. First, you see the receiver gets control, 2 feet down, protects himself, then gets hit helmet to helmet. We'll talk about that in a second. The ball does not come loose until he hits the ground, so he will be down by contact there. The penalty for a defenseless receiver will be enforced from that spot, half the distance to the goal.
So if that is in fact what happens, that play will put the football actually close to the Giants' 30-yard line. If they rule it a catch and down by contact. Coming up on the Lexus halftime report, JB, Dion, Coach Cower will break down all the first half action on the Lexus halftime report. Carl Cheffer says seen enough and ready to give the ruling.
After review, the receiver did complete the process of the catch and was down by contact at the 41-yard line. The 15-yard penalty will be assessed from that spot. First down, Washington.
Actually puts the football at the Giants' 26, 28-yard pass play, plus the 15 on the penalty.
Well, it was a good play design by Washington that time on the offensive side. Go down the middle of the field when the safeties are out wide, worrying about the wide receivers. This changes everything. You hoped with 1 timeout and little time left in the first half, you get a field goal try. Now you're thinking about, of course, scoring a touchdown.
On first down, Cousins able to dump it off. Lou should have cut to the outside and got out of bounds. He was tackled in the field of play at the 23, pickup of 3. The Redskins are down to 1 tight end, only Logan Paulson, as Jordan Reed once again is out with a hamstring. Paulson set up off the left side on 2nd and 7, and here he is with the catch. Giants were able to strip it away. The Giants took it out of his hands and have recovered. Amukamara has the football. Ruled a Giant recovery, although I see the officials meeting for a moment.
Well, what you do in situations like this, you know, one guy has the runner, the other guy goes in there for the strip.
Tremaine McBride was in there wrestling the football out of the hands of Paulson.
McBride, the extra defensive back in situations like that. Hey, he knew. Paulson knew they were there. He just couldn't win the wrestling match with McBride.
And now the Giants, what a turn of events. They have 2 timeouts, 1:16 to go. And McBride, as the play is going to stand.
2 turnovers by Washington cost them points on this one, and they gave Giant points on the first turnover.
As Cruz is chopped after a 12-yard pass play. Cut under by Ryan Clark. Now with a minute to go, they'll preserve 2 timeouts. Blitz picked up. Handle fighting for the sidelines, doesn't get there. Pick up a 5. Pass wide of the mark for Randall. Let's go back down to Tracy.
Well, thanks, Jim. I got official word that Niles Paul is out. He is being evaluated for concussion. On the defensive side, defensive end Jarvis Jenkins in the locker room getting x-rays on his ribs. And remember, this is already a thin defensive line. Kedrick Golston out tonight with a groin. Jason Hatcher dealing with a hamstring, and he has had a heat pack on it on and off throughout this game, Jim.
And again, D'Angelo Hall out for the season after rupturing an Achilles last week against Philadelphia, and he was a big part of the leadership of that defensive unit. 3rd and 5. Can they stop the Giants? As Eli finds his man on the sideline, Parker, for the first down.
Unless Washington blitzes, they are getting no pressure on Eli Manning. Really, that time, he doesn't like what he sees from the beginning of the route, so he just cruises to the outside corner. Breland doing the smart thing, play it safe, knowing there's only so much time left on the clock.
They blitz again. Eli's pass lofted in the air. He got a flag. Is headed to Parker. Breland going to be flagged for it.
Pass interference, number 26, defense, automatic, first down.
The rookie out of Clemson taken in the 4th round. And again, I just mentioned D'Angelo Hall, so this guy had to step up tonight.
He did. Too much contact down the field.
Still not believing that he coughed it up and cost his team points. Paulson. 17-yard penalty with 18 seconds to go in the half. Now they get on Manning, and they've got the sack, the first one of the night. And it pushes it back to 40 to the 40, and maybe out of field goal range here for Josh Brown. Timeout called by the Giants.
On the outside,
Ryan Kerrigan.
he gets pressure from Trent Murphy, makes Eli Manning step up, and then Kerrigan goes underneath to tackle Pugh and gets the sack.
His 5th sack of the season after getting 4 against the Jaguars.
You know, Rakpo on the other side, he has got a cast on that left hand, so hard to use. You know, pass rushers need their hands to be able to grab the jerseys, pull, and yank offensive linemen around. So tough for him to get to the quarterback.
If they don't pick up any yardage, Brown would be probably trying one that would match a career long of 58. Manning steps up and incomplete. In the hands of Parker for a moment. Got one timeout. You probably can try to pick up a couple of yards, get a little closer here for Brown.
Absolutely. Throw it short, and whoever catches the football, give yourself up immediately. And the Giants, one timeout, use it. It's a hot night. It's humid.
Well, now the Giants.
Well, so much for that.
Yeah, just taking the last time out. Now would you just go ahead and kick it? Or you try some sort of sideline route here?
Well, with 7 seconds, you do have time to catch it, throw it outside, and try to get out of bounds. That's why I was surprised they used that timeout. I was surprised they didn't have a play called the last time, Jim, to throw it for a minimum gain. I was saying it's hot tonight. It's humid. There is absolutely no wind. And I think a 52, 55-yarder is just not out of the question.
Okay, they're going to run one more play.
If the corners are off, and they are, you can throw a sideline route right here. Look at this. Look at the space. Make them throw it inside.
Wide open and stepping out with 1 second. It wasn't a little 10-yard out. It was down the field to Cruz for a big gain. Picked up 29.
It's just like we saw with the Denver Broncos. What a design, and that was borderline, of course. They go deep. They got a guy in between. And Victor Cruz, what a well-designed play by the Giants offense.
So that certainly made it a whole lot easier for Josh Brown. Just 29 yards. To close out the half, the kick is good. The Giants score on 4 of their 6 first half possessions. Cruz has 4 catches for 83 yards, but Larry Donnell has been the big playmaker with 5 receptions. Make it 6, and 3 of them going for touchdowns. 24-7 at the intermission. Back after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching Thursday Night Football. To the end zone again, and he's got another hookup. And the Redskins are on the board. He lost this one to him again. Number 3. Quite a first half performance by Eli Manning. 20 of 24, 209 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And now, who do you love? Presented by McDonald's. Manning, loving this combination tonight. Larry Donnell. 3 touchdown catches. And the Redskins have had 2 costly turnovers. It looked like they were going to go in right before the half. 21-7 game at that time. Possible touchdown to trim it to 7. They're going to be receiving the second half kickoff in a moment here. All of a sudden, cough it up. Giants go down, get the field goal. 17-point edge. What do you see second half?
Well, it's quite evident Washington's got to play perfect here to win this football game here in the second half. And the biggest thing of all, of course, protect the football. That's always an issue. But the defense for Washington has to find a way to get to Eli Manning. I don't even know if his uniform is dirty yet. Getting rid of the football quick, and guys are open.
Well, the halftime numbers, as you see, 252 total yards by the Giants. We talked at the top about how things began to click last week against Houston, and it's spilling over to this one.
Sure is. And talking to Eli Manning and Ben McAdoo, the offensive coordinator, we made Eli describe the West Coast offense to us. And he had a little chuckle, but he says, look, it's about the quarterback. It's about rhythm. It's about throwing on time, getting rid of the football quickly. Everything that he said, they are doing perfectly here tonight. And everything goes along. The Giants are showing even more imagination on the offensive side, which I thought was a problem during preseason in the first game.
Kicks on the ground in a hurry, fielded by Roberts. Looking for something to break open, and it's not there. Let's go down to Tracy.
Well, thanks, Jim. It was a tale of 2 coaches. I had a chance to speak with Tom Coughlin. Obviously, he was very pleased with the way they were able to move the ball in that first half. As for Jay Gruden, he looked at me and he said, we stunk. He said, we need to play better at home, eliminate penalties, get first downs. He said there was a lot of frustration in that locker room, but they need to get a spark here and get something going. Jim?
Well, that's one thing I like about Jay Gruden. He doesn't sugarcoat his words, does he?
No, he does not. It comes out. The truth, you better be able to handle it.
Starting from the 17, Morris Puts it outside, cuts back inside for about 5. Jaquan Williams with that tackle. First, the blindside hit. Kiwanuka forcing the fumble. And then right before the half, about a minute to go, and Logan Paulson fumbles near the 10-yard line. For Cousins in that first half, 12. They'll make it 13 out of 19 for 136 yards and a touchdown pass, no picks. But his receivers, wideouts that is, have only 38 yards. That could change right here. Nope. Almost caught on the rebound, almost, by Garcon after a near pick by Amukamara.
Really well played by Prince Amukamara. Keeps his outside, little hand grab, but goes after the football and saw it the whole way. The fact that he had the wide receiver to the inside made that play so much easier for him. Really well done.
Garcon trying to find it. And now it's a 3rd and 5. First it was Pierre Paul moving.
Neutral zone infraction, number 90 defense. His movement into the neutral zone caused a reaction by the offense. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
You know, the one thing you watch this first half, Tom Coughlin, there a penalty goes against his team. No demonstration by him, not showing outward emotion that he's dissatisfied, and it's, as he told us and the team, he's Mr. Positive. We're all in this together, and it started last week, and it brought some life to their football team in practice last week, and it's carried over to this game so far.
First down. Open man. Helu. Roy Helu Jr. to the Giants 35. That's gain of 36, Phil.
Well, the Giants have had some mistakes on the defensive side. And they give up big plays while they're playing well. Out of the backfield, here he comes out this side. Watch the receivers on the top of the screen. As he comes out, everybody's chasing the wide receivers. Helu is uncovered. The linebackers thought it was a run. Nobody covered him on the pass.
Biggest play of the night for the Redskins by yardage as Cousins has another completion. Garcon with the catch. His second of the night, goes for 17.
So many weapons for Washington on the offensive side. Nice sail inside by Garcon. That time, the play action. Time for Cousins to throw it, and he lets it go. The thing I like about Kirk Cousins, he has great touch on the football, but when he needs to, he can step on it just like that and throw a fastball.
From the Giants 20. They go Brown, they go Morris, and he goes end zone.
How about that drive, and how about the blocking, pass and run by the Washington offensive line?
20-yard touchdown run by Alfred Morris.
Trent Williams gets the seal, knocks his guy out. And Laribas, the backup offensive guard in there, excellent job. And Alfred Morris, hey, yeah, that is one big man, but when he sees some space, he can turn it on.
Boy, that's exactly what they had to do to come out of that locker room. Down 17, big mistake before the half. And now they get this jolt. Morris with his 3rd touchdown of the year with NFL Now. Get access to the biggest NFL video library on the planet. Select your favorite team or player, and NFL Now delivers. Get it free, NFL.com/now. Again, Tress Way, the punter, kicks it. Dips his back deep. Had 2 career kick returns for touchdowns, but a kneel down on this occasion in the end zone.
Well, Larry Donnell, what a job by him. Blown coverage by the defense. Wrong techniques, leaves him wide open over the middle. Hey, the old Steeler trap pass. Fake it. Fullback, now a tight end down the middle of the field. It works. And then when you're big, hey, size is a talent, and he showed it right there.
Hey, he went to Grambling as a quarterback.
Wow.
Switched positions after his freshman year, had one career completion, and it went for a 51-yard touchdown. First down carry, Jennings gets past the line, and a gain of about 6 behind Justin Pugh.
Well, just a tremendous first half for the Giants. Eli Manning, rhythm, catching the ball, letting it go. 1 sack against him, but hard to get to the quarterback when he gets rid of it so fast.
Here's the toss to Jennings. And he stopped about 2 yards shy of the first. This being the 155th consecutive start for Eli, the longest active streak in the league and the 3rd longest of all time. Phillip Rivers has a significant streak going as well. And since Eli first started back in 2004 in his division, there have been 26 other starting quarterbacks, while the Giants have just had the 1.
Of course, you got to give Eli a lot of credit for that. Knows how to protect himself. But the Giant organization has done a tremendous job keeping some pretty good guys in front of him to help him stay healthy.
3rd down, he's got the first down, and again, it's Larry Donnell.
Well, that time he's against the defensive back, David Amerson. Nice fake outside, just like down the goal line. Sell one thing and then do another.
7th catch for 54 yards and 3 touchdowns. Give you a little perspective, when Eli started for the first time in his career, this streak ongoing in the division. McNabb was the starter at the Eagles. Vinny Testaverde was the starter for the Cowboys. And Patrick Ramsey, who had been a first-round pick out of Tulane, was the starter here at Washington. On first down, Randall. For a gain of 2.
Let's go back to this Giant offense, Jim, and as you see it and how easy it looks. Of course, it always looks easy when you're executing the way they are, but we talked about 70% completion. He's over that tonight, and when they see a little opening, they're not afraid to take 2 and 3 yards with a pass play. You still got to make the tackle.
2nd and 8. To Cruz. Just a little overthrown.
Well, Victor Cruz, boy, that was close. He is behind the defense. A lot of green marks here in his last attempts. 10 attempts. It's a great night to throw. A grass field. It's humid. For quarterbacks, this is ideal. That football grips well, and you feel like you can make any throw on the field.
Giants have converted their last 6 times on 3rd down. Need to get to the Redskins 48 for the first. Cruz is not going to get there, as he is tackled down by Kerrigan.
The best thing Washington has going for its defense is the fact that they are hustling. And when that football is in the air or on the ground, wherever, they run to it. And it has saved them tonight. Good job that time on the short pass.
Steve Weatherford last week against Houston, all 4 of his punts landed inside the 20. The veteran of 4 teams, New Orleans, Jacksonville, the Jets, and the Giants. 9 years in the league. He had some pressure. Got a gunner down there. He, for the 2nd time tonight, has delivered a superb kick. Zach Bowman downs it after the 41 yards. Morris and the Redskins, though, come out, score on their first drive of the 2nd half, and they get the football back again down 10. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Microsoft Surface, the official tablet of the NFL. Corona, who invites you to find your beach. And by the Agile, all new Audi Q3. Stray the course as you look at National Harbor Ferris wheel, 180 feet tall. See Maryland and Virginia, the U.S. Capitol building, and Washington Monument from there. Starting at the 10. Off a touchdown drive the last time they had it. And space is there for Morris. And Morris Picks up 26.
Well, what do? They put their two best receivers to one side. That's what, here you got Garcon and Jackson. Here comes the running back. Oh, my finger's gone. Out of the backfield. With the fake, the Giants again. Look at everybody turning and looking up a wide receiver down the field. Nobody on the running back.
First down carry by Morris. That's a quick 5. Redskins are starting to pick up pretty good chunks every time they snap it.
One of the big detriments to the Giants defense, the fact that they give up so many big pass plays they did last year. They've had a good start this year, but some big plays hurting them. Look at what Kirk Cousins is doing, spreading that football around, and that's what you want to do. That way you can't key on one guy, you can't double team. I said it many times. Watch, there's a lot of weapons.
All right, they're going to go with the reverse. They run the reverse with Robinson. Aldrich Roberts, make that Roberts. Andre Roberts for just a 2-yard gain.
Good job. Caught him in zone. Wasn't man-to-man, the Giants, so they were looking in the backfield. But how about Andre Roberts? They get him as a free agent. They sign him. He's going to be the number 2 receiver. Pierre Garcon is number 1. Then all of a sudden, Deshaun Jackson just falls to him. Now you have 3 excellent wide receivers.
He signs with him, thinks he's going to be there too. Then you get a guy like Deshaun Jackson. That is a pretty good fleet with Garcon. Of course, they had both Garcon and Jackson over 100 last week. Ryan Grant is in now. The bottom of the screen is a wide out. And they throw in this direction. He's picked off. Amukamara with the interception reverses course with blockers in front, and Hulu brings him down at the 21. So they had just brought in the rookie from Tulane, Ryan Grant, only for the 2nd or 3rd snap of the night. And Amukamara jumps the route and steps in front of the rookie and makes the theft.
He gets better every year, Prince Amukamara. And usually they get a little upset. Not upset, but he plays sometimes careful. Nothing wrong with that. But he diagnoses everything perfectly that time. He knows the down and distance. Very aggressive on the coverage. Kirk Cousins, it looks like he had control of the football, threw it exactly where he wanted it. Most physical guy wins, and that was Prince Amukamara.
3rd turnover of the night for Washington. And that's Andre Williams. I mentioned a couple times the rookie wideout who had seldom seen action tonight comes right in and they throw in his direction. Was he culpable at all on that?
Well, yes. You know, one, the coverage is tight. You go down and you fight the guy and you try to body up when you see that. Now the throw was off target, a little inside, but when the coverage is tight, Jim, we see it all the time in the NFL. You got to win these contested throws, and that time he was not physical enough, and that's why it was intercepted.
2nd and 7. Manning's going to the end zone and caught out of bounds. Incomplete to Victor Cruz.
Does not get that 2nd foot down. Tracy Porter active for this game. And they need him here. They need defensive backs to cover the Giant wide receivers and the tight end.
Tracy Porter out the first 3 games with a hamstring. Up tonight for the first time as a Redskin in the regular season. And now it's a 3rd and 7 for New York. Turn around, back shoulder throw to Randall for 1st and goal to go.
So many times Eli Manning, when they have one single receiver to his right or left, it's usually Ruben Randall. Wow, that's just a terrific route. Faked outside, inside. And Eli Manning right on the money. What a difference when you watch Ruben Randall now compared to his first couple years in the NFL. Catching the ball, running precise routes, blocking well for the run.
Memo to the Redskins, watch out for 84. 1st and goal. As Manning finds, it would have probably been a touchdown for Rashad Jennings.
Couple times. Washington's defense, who's got coverage? He just runs into Robinson. That's why he's wide open. They've let the running back go. Washington has on the defensive side a couple times. Eli Manning didn't spot it. That time he went right to the running back.
Jennings could have had his first career touchdown catch. Instead, it's a 2nd and goal. To the end zone, and the ball comes out and into the hands of the Redskins. Robinson able to get it back out of the end zone after he took it out of the air. Eli thinks he has a touchdown. Eli thought the ball had been caught and held on to long enough, but
is that the receiver did not complete the process of the catch. That ball was intercepted by the defense. It'll be 1st and 10 at the 1-yard line.
Of course, automatically reviewed on a takeaway. Ooh, that's going to be close. A bizarre play here, Phil.
Well, Jim, as you watch it, does he complete the process? Catch, 2 feet down, a move. It's a bang-bang play. When it's a bang-bang play, it usually and always is incomplete.
Ruben Randall that close to a touchdown. Merriweather was the one who knocked it out.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. 1st down, Washington.
And then Robinson with the recovery very nearly got caught for a safety. So let's bring in Mike Carey from the studio. And Mike, that's the old, you got to make a football move before it's a catch, right?
You've got it. What you want to focus on is the time element after he had control in 2 steps. There wasn't enough time for the receiver to complete a football move, and when it went loose, the ball was still loose and then intercepted by the defense to the 1-yard line.
So that was Robinson with the interception, and the Redskins trying to run it with their fullback, Young. No gain.
You know, Jim, it looks, when you see a play like that, it always looks like a completion. We talk about this all the time, but when you saw it in full speed, then it's just, as soon as he catches it, before he even gets that 2nd foot and tries to make any move, Merriweather, what a job by him, flying up there, which he's been doing all night long, and probably saved the game for Washington.
2nd and 9. Young was able to pick up a yard from the end zone with the time. Down the field and intercepted again by the Giants. Quentin Dimps this time. And he falls at the 34. He was throwing it, Cousins was, to Garcon.
Yeah, let's watch what happens on the play. And he waits and he waits. Watch the safety. Here's Dimps. Bottom of your screen comes the route. And watch Kirk Cousins. He looks to his left, hasn't made his, keeps thinking, finally decides to throw it, and you see Quentin Dimps with all that time, just like a center fielder, just track the football to the sideline and gets the easy interception. I think Cousins saw him, Jim. He tried to rifle the football in there, but no way.
Washington had 3 turnovers on the season through 3 weeks, now with 4 tonight. It's Jennings. High stepping it for a moment, picks up 7 or 8. And Sunday on NFL Game Day morning, Seahawks star cornerback Richard Sherman is live in studio. NFL Game Day morning, Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, live on NFL Network.
Well, we thought in the opening of the game, we said this is going to be explosive. A lot of good players. Been explosive, all right. And turnovers for Washington.
Yeah, 2 picks thrown by Cousins in this quarter as Williams picks up the 1st down.
Here we go, next gen stats. Garcon, how fast is he going outside? Gets up to about 17 miles an hour. But again, the coverage was excellent, and Demps read the quarterback and gets the interception. Giants offensive line having a great night.
First down, pass, caught. That's a catch by Randall. And he's out of bounds at about the 1.
What a job. Ruben Randall, single receiver again. Once again, the Giants see the football, react, and go get it. Washington a step behind.
They mark it at the 2. First and goal to go. And it's Andre Williams, the rookie, possibly going to be called on with a chance to score his first NFL touchdown. Fake to him. Manning's got a 4th touchdown pass of the night. Daniel Fells, the backup tight end, gets into the touchdown act.
Well, they got the coverage. The guy that's covering Fells has to come up and cover the fullback. Fullback in the flat, tight end in the back. Let's see what the defense does. Oh my gosh, everybody's selling out. Nobody covering Fells right from the start. And Eli Manning, nice job of just being patient. Waits. He gets touchdown number 4.
Second straight week, Fells has found the end zone. Former Bronco, former Patriot. Eli now with 4 touchdown passes has moved into 20th place on the all-time touchdown list, moving ahead of Jim Kelly. Back before the game, the Washington Redskins honored Angela Franco, president and CEO, Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, with the NFL Hispanic Heritage Leadership Award. Join us in celebrating the diversity of the NFL during Hispanic Heritage Month and all season long.
Well, the Giants shook up their offensive staff because they wanted to reinvigorate Eli Manning. I think it worked pretty well.
Starting to take hold.
Man.
Here's how they got into the end zone. First to pick, and then nearly the touch, only to turn it over. But to get it right back with a pick, and Fells with the touchdown. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by The Equalizer, in theaters September 26th, and by America's Navy. Well, the Redskins responded at the start of this quarter with a touchdown drive, but back-to-back series ending with interception since then.
False start, number 71 offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
And a total of 4 turnovers on the night.
Well, it's led to Giant points, and it's taken points off the board for Washington. Giants, more aggressive, no doubt about it. The defense, they're giving up big plays, but they're fighting, attacking the football when it's in the air.
First and 15, ball tipped by Demps, and it falls incomplete.
$17 points off the turnovers for the New York Giants. And they're not sitting back, playing safe. Perry Fuel, defensive coordinator, is able to take chances a little when he wants to with the defense. Why? He's got a good pass rush, and he has corners who can play good man-to-man. We have seen that here tonight.
Yeah, Rogers Cromartie has done quite a job tonight on Deshaun Jackson with 1 catch. And they try to run it on 2nd and 15. Morris stopped at the line.
Marcus Kuhn, just another defensive lineman we've been talking about all night. Just gets in there, makes a play, fresh energy. And you think, wow, why that call? Well, listen, your quarterback has just thrown 2 interceptions. I don't care who you are, unless you're Dan Marino, who he never seemed to care. It can shake your confidence.
3rd and 15, and that pass was not a good throw. Roberts was open. Ayers was providing pressure, though, on Cousins that affected the throw.
It's Giant defensive lines like Washington's wide receiving core. There's just a lot of guys. Somebody in front of him. Ayers with the big hit. When you hit the quarterback, they'll be off target with the throws.
Way standing just a yard outside the end zone.
This could be against the defense. It's not going to matter.
False start, number 93 offense. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Okay, it could be against the offense.
And that's going to push the punter back into the end zone. Washington's last 6 plays, they picked up 1 yard, thrown 2 interceptions. Preston Parker came close to touching it, but it's down at the 13. That is going to be some boot. Trenton Robinson downs it. How about this? 77 yards.
During the kick, holding, number 98 return team. Half the distance to the goal, 1st down.
How about that? He's standing in the end zone to punt it, and now the Giants are going to start this drive inside their own 10.
Couldn't tell anything from there, but nope, just gets it out in time.
Reminds you of that Kyle Williams play in the NFC Championship game a few years ago, but in this case it did not touch him. So with the penalty, it's a net 83-yard change in field position. And that's why you saw Coughlin brewing on the sidelines.
118, record.
Williams makes the cut. Takes 2 Washington players to bring him down, including Trent Murphy, and a gain of 23.
Well, this defensive line, it's thin for Washington, and now they're starting to get pushed around. Boy, what a job that time. J.D. Walton, good run by Williams. He's fresh. Spelling Jennings. The Giants showing the depth of their football team in this game here tonight.
Williams again. As the Redskins tried to strip it. 1-yard run.
You know, Jim, let's go back. Eli Manning, these last 2 games, and really he played pretty well against the Arizona Cardinals. Was a little unlucky, but Tom Coughlin talked about it during the offseason. Shake the team up. What do? You want to shake your quarterback up first. So they brought in an offensive coordinator who was totally different with the style and the system to try to change their team, try to change Eli Manning, and really just getting going again.
That's the hunt.
And it was a tough change for a lot of guys on the Giants' offensive side. It took a while, but they got it down now.
3rd straight carry for Williams. And he's pushed back, maybe got a yard out of that. What's the word you hear around the Giants with Andre Williams?
Well, it's a steal. That's what it is. They know they got a terrific backup running back who can do stuff like this late in the game. Let him just take it inside. He's big. Drafted in the 4th round. A great year at Boston College last year. Had some Heisman Trophy votes.
Yep.
Big down for Washington's defense. They're going to play pressure on the wide receivers. Can they get to Manning before he gets the pass off?
3rd and 7. 3rd and 7, and Eli guns in, and should have been picked off by Merriweather.
And the pressure almost did it for Washington that time. They get around his feet. He has to wait for the receiver to come open, and Merriweather gets a tremendous jump. They collapse the pocket. Jason Hatcher, he's the guy that can do it inside. And Merriweather, Eli Manning, fortunate that Merriweather dropped that pass. Still plenty of time. 1:26 in the 3rd quarter. You're making big plays. Washington is on offense.
Weatherford's punt off the side of his foot. They'll say at the 25-yard line it went out of bounds. Actually 43 yards he got out of it. Kirk Cousins coming out of that draft class back in 2012. He was the 8th quarterback taken. Andrew Luck 1, RG3 the 2nd overall, then Tannehill, Whedon in the 1st round, Broncos Osweiler 2nd round, Russell Wilson 3rd, Nick Foles, and then Kirk Cousins. 2 quarterbacks taken by the Redskins in their first 4 rounds.
Yeah, you know, even I questioned it when they did it, but I'm sure they're glad they did. They have a tremendous backup in Kirk Cousins. We'll find out if he can be a starter.
Morris lost his helmet and probably lost a yard on that. Of course, to get Griffin with the 2nd pick, they made the deal with the Rams in exchange for 2 picks in 2012, 2 high picks, and 1st-round pick in 2013 in this past year. Of course, since Cousins was drafted and he has shown some glimpses of some really good play, there's always been this talk that someone's going to come in here and trade for him. He told us this week he's been hearing it, but he's very content here. 2nd and 11. Uh-oh, a 3rd interception thrown in the quarter. And this one's McBride. Trumaine McBride.
There was a defensive lineman in front of him. I don't know if he ever saw McBride, but pre-snap, you had to kind of know what defense it was, and there is no chance for that football.
Kiwanuka was closing in on the quarterback. Trent Williams, their left tackle, Pro Bowler, is hobbling off the field, and Cousins is having the worst quarter of his career.
When you think about it, the score, everything that went wrong, that drive, you go, if they can score in this drive,
yeah,
they're right back in the game. But they keep throwing gasoline on the fire, no doubt about it.
Well, there's a concern. Trent Williams, big presence at left tackle and a Pro Bowler twice. And most giveaways since 2013. They started the night 3rd on that list. And they've risen now to 2nd.
Well, we know what they'll be talking about down here in Washington tomorrow. And on every show, too.
As Manning goes to the end zone. Had Parker open as he was able to free himself at the last moment. By the way, Sunday, the NFL on CBS puts on regional excitement. Steve Smith, now with the Ravens, will go against his old teammates. Carolina comes into Baltimore. That's the main game. Some will see the game from Wembley Stadium. Miami and Oakland will tangle, plus other regional action, all starting with JB, Tony, Bart, Coach, and Boomer on the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines. 2nd and 10. Cruz sidesteps the hit, wiggles at the 5 and is down at the 1.
It's a blitz by the defense. Here comes the blitz. 5 guys down. They're playing zone behind it. Look at the spaces. There are people wide open everywhere.
And you saw Cousins on the sidelines with his confidence shaken. We're through 3. Giants 31-14. You're watching Thursday Night Football. The 4th quarter about to begin. Jim Nantz, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson, and some rules expertise from Mike Carey as the Giants 1st and goal. Handed to Williams for no gain. The last time a quarterback threw 3 interceptions in a 3rd quarter of an NFL game happened back in 06.
Oh, good. I was going to say you thought it was me.
You thought it was coming after you?
Yeah, I did.
Brad Johnson back in 06 with Brad, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Give him his due.
That's right. Played for a lot of teams, had a really good, solid career, and of course, you're right, led Tampa Bay to a Super Bowl title.
For John Gruden. The 2nd and goal, and Donnell almost able to bring that down. Thought there was a little contact with Riley.
Yeah, that's right. Riley, at least a linebacker that time, made a little contact. Top of your screen. He made contact. That's not pass interference.
Had he pulled it in, he would have tied the Giant team record. See, he's complaining about the hold. Got the hold of the jersey.
I didn't see that jersey being stretched. But once you make contact, hands inside, they'll allow you to keep those hands on them inside of 5 yards. As long as you don't disengage, then reapply the pressure.
3rd and goal. Eli pass was going to Donnell. Draws a flag.
Prior to the pass, illegal hands to the face, number 56 defense. That penalty will be half the distance to the goal, automatic. First down.
Well, Riley had tangled with Donnell on the previous play. This time he's flagged for it. Had that gone as a touchdown, Donnell would have tied the Giant team record. 4 touchdown catches. Ernest Gray caught 4 from you in a game for the team record.
56, right of your screen. Grab the face mask. You could see it. Good call.
And 1st and goal. Eli is going to take off and find it untouched. 4 touchdown passes and now a touchdown run for Eli tonight. Monster game.
Really well done. Washington all over the pass this time. They're expecting it. But look at everybody on the ground for Washington. All the defensive linemen were down. Eli Manning walks in untouched.
First rush touchdown in 3 years, and it happened here. Josh Brown's extra point with a flag out.
Neutral zone infraction, number 22 defense, unabated to the kicker. Half the distance to the goal, re-kick the ball from the 1 yard line.
Well, I will say this, Jim. Give the Giants all the credit. Boy, they were confident, full of energy. The fact that they took the kick to start the game said something. We kind of talked about it a little. Usually when you're on the road, you don't want to fight the crowd, give up good field position. Washington's defense thin on numbers and beat up.
38-14. Again, points off the turnover. It's the first time in 11 years the Redskins have 5 giveaways in a home game and 24 points off turnovers by the Giants, and they have a 24-point lead. And that'll be a touchback. Big night for Derek Jeter in his final home game. He got the walk-off single to win it for the Yankees. Big night for Derek. Big night for Eli as the Giants are in command. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by FedEx One Rate. Simple, flat rate shipping with the reliability of FedEx. T-Mobile. And by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. The Washington Monument just reopened this summer after being damaged in August of 2011 by an earthquake. As the Redskins run it with Morris for 3. Let's go down to Tracy.
Well, thanks a lot, Jim. Another injury for Washington. Pro Bowl left tackle Trent Williams has a right knee strain. His return is questionable, but from the looks of it on his face, guys, it does not look like he'll be back out there.
Well, that is one guy that...
Well, he's a premier offensive lineman,
yes,
Jim.
indeed. Tom Compton has come in to replace him at left tackle. 2nd and 8. Nice grab there by Hulu Jr. Come to the Giants side of the field.
You know, if you're Kirk Cousins in a situation like this, be smart, keep playing like it's 0-0, and show that you can overcome a little bit. And next week, it takes courage. You got to go out and lead, inspire, do all those things.
That last play picked up 27 and now just throwing it into the ground.
Offensive lineman down the field.
Week 4 of the season continues Sunday on CBS and Fox, and here's the next broadcast window, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Check your local listings for the game in your area. So we do have a flag down.
Ineligible player downfield, number 67 offense. That 5-yard penalty results replay first down.
Well, there's so much time going on here. Laribas, the left guard, is going to go down the field because the timing is bad on the screen. The Giants sniff it out right away. That's Williams who gets up in there and diagnosed it.
First and 15. Cousins to throw for the 30th time tonight. No, he gets sacked instead. This time is DeMontre Moore. And he's got the ball on the ground here. But they're going to rule Cousins was down at the 39.
Coming outside against Tyler Columbus. And DeMontre Moore. 3rd round pick, Texas A&M. How'd you like it? That's just a backup defensive end. So we talked about it many times, and it's worth noting the depth and the talent of the Giants defensive line.
2nd sack of the night. 2nd and 21. Making sure he holds on to it. Paulson. Still the ball seemed to be moving around a little bit, but he secured it for the pickup of 10.
When I was getting ready for this game, you know, I watch all the games, watch the Giants, of course, saw them in preseason. And what did we say, Jim? I came down, I said, man, I'm changing all my opinions, because when you watch them, Perry Field, the defensive coordinator, you can see the talent. This defense, you can see it, the offense rounded into shape. The Giants have a lot of good players, guys that can make plays and decide games.
3rd and 11. And this one is also intercepted. You can see it a mile away. This is Antrell Roll running it back. And Roll is finally tackled at the 19-yard line by Roy Halou Jr. Interception number 4 on the night for Cousins.
Laribas, the left guard, gets knocked over. Kirk Cousins cannot step into it. When you're in a situation like this as a quarterback, you play it safe. You're not going to win the game.
After the interception, during the return, holding number 94 of the intercepting team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
You're not going to win the game, Jim, so don't make it worse on yourself by taking chances with the football.
Most favorite 5 stadiums. Of course, Giant Stadium not eligible here.
Right.
Take it through us.
Texas Stadium, the hole in the roof, all those stars. Veterans Stadium to watch the fights in the stands. LA Coliseum, the great history. Love playing there. Lambeau, my gosh, the best. But RFK Stadium, every year, loved it. Look at the stands shaking, the grass field, the atmosphere, the Hogs, Joe Gibbs, the history there, and it was just awesome. They were in their prime for many years. We were with the Giants, and it was always special to play at RFK.
And you defeated the Redskins in the '86 NFC Championship game at RFK to advance to the Super Bowl that you won in Pasadena. I trust you would have had Giant Stadium on there. You just struck them from the list, right?
Sure.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
And they were always cheering for you. Lustily.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Most career regular season wins by a quarterback. I mentioned at the top of the day, you had the most wins. You're about to be joined at 14. Both will be at this point 14-6. 6 of your wins were at RFK. One was on your list.
When you were backed up against the end zone at one end of RFK, the crowd was absolutely unbelievable.
It's about 7 miles from here as Williams stopped just short of the first. I believe they're going to mark it.
Well, let me say this.
Lambeau.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead. But Lambeau Field was on there. Of course, it's a terrific place to go. The history of the Packers. My dad drove with my mom from Kentucky to Lambeau Field. And I said, boy, Dad, that was great of you to drive all this way to watch me play. He goes, hey, son, I came up to see Lambeau Field in Green Bay. Well, it's kind of took the air out of my balloon a little bit.
I'm sure he came to see his boy play.
Well, sure, but he was a history guy, loved sports, and Lambeau Field is a place you want to see, and we'll be there next Thursday night.
Let's take you back there for Minnesota and the Packers. Thursday night football next week. First down, Giants. And Peyton Hillis gets his first carry of the season. And he's pumped up after a gain of 7. And I thought the Redskins would play a whole lot better than this tonight off their last 2 efforts.
Well, a couple things that we even talked about to start. Can the Redskins, or can their Washington offensive line hang in there and block the big defensive front? And Kirk Cousins had time to get it done, but the Giants' defensive line did make some plays. They were thin on the defensive side, Washington was, and I think that hurt them as the game went along, too, with the injury.
Hillis this time loses a helmet, but doesn't lose a yard. No gain.
They played bad tonight, no doubt about it. Penalties, the turnovers, and some of those turnovers from Kirk Cousins, they're going to be hard to accept for the coaching staff and himself because he had time, he saw it, he just made some bad decisions. And, you know, that's going to happen to a young quarterback that has very few, or not a lot of live action in the NFL under his belt.
Yeah, 4 interceptions all coming after halftime. That's Adrian Robinson, another tight end getting into the stat column for the Giants. His first catch of the season.
Well, they're just taking advantage of a tired defense. The game is over. Washington is not as disciplined. And nobody there to cover Robinson.
We've got an injured player. Ryan Clark of the Redskins. Will take a break. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. And by State Farm. Pump up your savings with a discount double check today. Giants led it by 17 at halftime. Redskins came out, took the second half kick, drove down the field to cut it to 10, and then the mistakes started coming.
118,
First down with Williams near the 10. Brian Orakpo has been mic'd up tonight. Let's listen in.
At the end of the day, Bake, man, you're doing a hell of a job coaching us, man, but he's throwing that thing. I'm speechless right now, bro.
Well, right. Eli is throwing that thing. There's no doubt about it. He's throwing it well. He's had great control of the football. That's what it's about. Can you throw it where you're looking? And tonight he has been razor sharp doing that.
Look at Williams breaking tackles, setting up another goal-to-go situation. First and goal at the 2.
Shoot, this is a chance for him. You know, you got to tell Washington, listen, the Giants aren't going to stop. Williams comes in there. He wants more carries, so you got to show everybody what you can do.
Giants went out and drafted Williams and picked up in the free agency market Rashad Jennings, who had been with the Raiders. Of course, they lost David Wilson, had to retire because of the neck injury from a first-round pick. First and goal. Inuski. Push back. Talking about the Redskins trying to get a mark in the division with the games, as the coaches will tell you, doubly important. They lost all their NFC East games last year. They lost last week to Philadelphia, and they're about to run their division losing streak to 8.
It's a long year. So, you know, you got to be careful. People like us, everybody, to overjudge one game. It's 10 days off for Washington. Get healthy, start over.
Second and goal Williams has had some really good runs on this drive. He's short. Nope, they give it to him. His first career touchdown. Andre Williams.
Well, he works hard for it. The power, the size, gets his pads down and keeps fighting. Good job by Robinson trying to get down lower than Williams, but it's hard to do. Looks like a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think any doubt. Across the plane as he was falling down. Knee is not down. Nowhere close. And it's been confirmed. Giants have scored in every quarter tonight. Quarter by quarter, 7, 17, 7, and 14. Now, the lead has swelled to 31. The Giants offense posting some impressive statistics, and the Giants defense doing its part too, as they've created the pressure all night long that's made it a very difficult evening for the Redskins and Kirk Cousins. In fact, when the Giants have had their great teams, it all starts, it seems, with pressure on the defensive line.
Yeah, you said it right. And they are loaded with depth at this position, size, edge rushers. Wasn't the difference in the game tonight, but it sure didn't help.
Yep.
With some of the pressure that caused an interception or two. Maybe Kirk Cousins couldn't see down the field as clearly as he wanted to.
Pressure from the defensive line of the Giants, and Washington's going to run it. Gilou with a gain of 2. That's what we were talking about. The 07 Super Bowl champions. They did lead the league in sacks.
How about that?
And then, of course, the 1-2. In 2011, they were tied for 3rd in sacks.
Well,
just for an example, you look at the last couple of years. 2012, numbers were down in the 20s, ranking 25th last year. 2nd and 8. Oh, almost another.
Wow.
Zach Bowman trying to get into the act. Pass intended for Aldrick Robinson. Coming up next is the Mazda post-game show, interviews and analysis of tonight's game.
Well, we talk so much about the league, the quarterbacks, it's this, but it still comes down to hitting the quarterback. No doubt on the defensive side, that's how you get turnovers, and protecting the quarterback. That allows so many things to go. Your offensive line is not one of the best. It's hard to be a champion in this league.
3rd and 8. Dump it off Gilou. And he's 3 yards shy of the first. And they're just going to go ahead and punt it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Question, Jay Gruden wants this game to be over with.
Giants are on their way to their 96th all-time win against Washington. That's regular and postseason, which ties the most in any rivalry all time, one team over another. That ball bounds. Touchdown at the 29. 44-yard punt. Look at Sonny Jurgensen on the Redskins broadcast crew, the Redskin legend and Hall of Famer, class of 1983.
Watch his arm.
Isn't he something else?
He was a slinger, there's no doubt about it. Love those uniforms too. 18 seasons.
He played until he was 40. He retired 40 years ago, 1974, and he just this year celebrated his 80th birthday.
And you know what?
And a long-time colleague of ours at CBS Sports.
And he retired. It wasn't because his arm gave out, because even when he was 40 years old, he could throw it down the field with the best of them.
Eli is done for the evening. Ryan Nassib is in. 2nd year out of Syracuse. As Hillis picks up about 3. Eli Manning is starting to really get. He's got a 300-yard game, by the way, right on the number. The 4 touchdown passes. The last time a Giant quarterback threw for 4 or more against the Redskins, you had all those wins. You never had 4. Y.A. Tittle had 7 of that 7 touchdown game. He's tied for the most of any quarterback against a team. He could throw it in any one game back in 1962. And another couple for Hillis.
I just want to say, why is Eli even listening? Who cares? You know, sit over there and let everybody pat you on the back. But it's a great thing. Go on the road, win a game, play well, get some extra days off. Since 1962, 4 touchdowns.
And they took the train down here like the good old days.
Yeah, how about that?
Little Amtrak special.
That's another great tradition. When the game is over, the trip home and you went on the road.
Well, they didn't go to the air to get here, but they certainly went to the air tonight to beat them. With Manning's 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Teddy Bridgewater, now the quarterback for the Vikings, with Castle having to be IR'd, and it'll be NFC North Division action next week at Lambeau Field. Minnesota and Green Bay next Thursday night. CBS and NFL Network. First down run by Williams. And we don't know how long it's going to be before Robert Griffin III is able to come back from that dislocated ankle. Cousins, he's had good showings. Of course, tonight, he's not one he's going to want to remember for too long. 257 yards, the 4 second half interceptions. And we reach the 2-minute warning here in Landover, Maryland. Coming up, it's the Mazda post-game show, interviews and analysis of tonight's game.
You know, Jim, let me talk about Robert Griffin III and everything. You know, everybody was just so quick to dismiss. I was not one of those guys. I wasn't jumping on the Kirk Cousins bandwagon. Yes, it's been good, but we got to see more. You know, we make such quick judgments in the NFL. Oh, start another quarterback, do this, he's going to be traded. It's amazing. You know, you want to see a body of work. And when you talk about Robert Griffin III, here's why I think he has a chance. One, he's never played the quarterback position like Kirk Cousins did in college, where he ran a pro offense. Robert Griffin III's got to learn to see it, read the defenses, make the throws, and then when the opportunity's there, you run with the football second. Now, I think this, just saying it, and I've always believed this, his arm, Robert Griffin III, his throwing arm has a chance to be one of the best in the NFL if he ever just gets comfortable and lets it go.
2nd and 8 run. Give us for a couple. Let's go back down to Tracy.
Well, thanks, guys. You were talking about when we may see RG3. Well, he got his cast off yesterday. He is here. He's in the building. He's in a suite because he can't put any pressure on that foot right now. And I was told that we could know more about when he would return later on this week. Right now, they're saying about 4 to 6 weeks. But I was told they will know a little bit more. They'll be a little bit more clearer by the end of this week. Jim?
You know, he's expected to miss, at the very least, several more weeks and probably more than a month.
Yeah, at least. I mean, you know, I can't imagine in 4 weeks he would be ready to play. So it's a long time. A lot's going to happen. Let's see how the Washington team plays, and we'll see how Kirk Cousins does in the future.
Hillis butting heads and taking it to the 45. And, of course, you play the Thursday night game, you get the added rest, but in the Redskins case, they'll give even an extra day. Their next game will be a Monday night game against the Super Bowl champion Seahawks right here. It'll be the next defense. There's Colt McCoy, who backs up Cousins at the moment, former
He had a terrific
Texas Longhorn
preseason.
star.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I watched all of Washington's preseason games. When he came in, he was almost perfect. Played very well. Has to give them confidence they have a backup to Kirk Cousins.
3rd and 9. Hillis tripped up for no gain.
But I did laugh, and you have to listen to me. Unfortunately, a lot of times as I rail about all these points in our meetings and all week long, I go back. Of course,
Well, you're good at it.
Well, I am. That's one of my strengths, no doubt about it. But I go back to what Bill Parcells, I quote him a lot because he taught me a lot. You got to see a body of work. Don't send people to the Hall of Fame after a quick audition. So this league is tough. You got to overcome a lot. Kirk Cousins, he's got talent. We saw that at times tonight. And now he's got to bounce back and show that he can protect the football and not be careless when he's out there playing quarterback.
Timeout Giants. You saw Deshaun Jackson a moment ago. Tonight held to 1 catch for 9 yards. Rogers Cromartie did quite a job on him.
Well, he did. Rogers Cromartie is the best cover guy for the New York Giants. I think he's one of the best in the NFL. I mean, boy, I thought at times last year with Denver, he was fantastic. And he's another guy in the Super Bowl that I thought played really well. But it gives the Giants confidence. I said that earlier. They can take some chances and blitz because we saw Prince Amukamara tonight, how well he played.
Well, you talk about those corners and all the picks that the Giants had tonight, but those 2 starting wideouts for Washington had 100-yard games each against the Eagles tonight. Garcon and Jackson held to 3 catches for 37 yards. As the Giants are about to improve to 2-2, a division right now that has Philadelphia off to the hot start, and the Cowboys with a couple of impressive road wins.
Right. You look at that and getting ready this week, I think that's the first thing that jumped. I said, boy, again, I'm one of those two. I jumped to the conclusion before the season started, the East is going to be maybe the worst division in football. And, well, let's hold on with that assessment. Let's see some football and get some facts.
You were guilty of the same thing you're railing against all the time?
Sure, I do.
Okay. I know you do. Well, you talk about people jumping to quick conclusions. How fast were people out to kill the Cowboys after 1 week?
Yeah.
And then they go and win 2 road games, including a 21-point comeback win against St. Louis.
I'm pretty good at backtracking, though, too. So when you're wrong and you judge too quick, you got to admit it. And the NFC East looks like it might have some decent play in it this year.
Tom Coughlin told us this week it's all about this positive attitude, and it starts with me. And he was hoping to keep up that standard tonight when people would look his way to hope to reflect some sort of positive image back to his players. Coaches inspire players, and players inspire coaches, he said.
That's right. You got to reinvent yourself all the time, even as a head coach, and Tom Coughlin has done it again. And boy, has his team responded to the way his actions and his leadership.
They'll be back home a week from Sunday, take on the Atlanta Falcons. The final score here in Landover, Maryland. New York Giants 45, the Washington Redskins 14. Coming up next is the Mazda postgame show. What a night for Eli. 4 touchdown passes, another touchdown on the ground. He throws for 300 yards. For Phil Simms, Tracy Wilson, Mike Carey, Jim Nance saying so long from Landover. You've been watching Thursday Night Football. We'll join the studio.